Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a wonderful episode of the Duck Zone. We are entering into Final Four weekend. Very exciting. But before we get into the Final Four, which is all one seeds for the first time since 2008 when it was in San Antonio, we're repeating history a little bit. Let's go back and let's take a look at the full tournament. James, how are you doing? How is your bracket? And how have you enjoyed this tournament so far?
I've enjoyed it. My bracket has not enjoyed it, but I've enjoyed it. Uh, I was actually a lot quicker to. I don't know, I'm trying to see. I'm trying to think how to word it correctly. I wasn't as upset about Arizona losing to Duke. That one I got over quite quickly. I mean, it was still frustrating. You obviously want to see your team win. Kind of went in with a if they win, awesome mentality. I didn't realize that we were actually going to have a decent shot. Bucket ball bounces a couple different ways. Arizona very well much could have won that game. And, hats off to Caleb Love. He had a hell of a game, but overall, I've enjoyed the tournament. There's been a lot of really, really good games. Not too many buzzer beaters, not too many uh, overtime games, and a lot of chalk.
Mhm. Yeah, my bracket's kind of the same thing. I went kind of upset heavy early on, and that came back to bite me. But as you said, you know, it's been not as many like buzzer beaters, overtimes, things like that, but a lot of really good games. The basketball value, I feel like it's been very high, and you walk away from a lot of the. At least I've walked away from a lot of these games, kind of shrugging my shoulders, saying the better team won and that team should have won. There's been a lot of years where the ball bounces and an upset happens, or the better team kind of just gets lucky calls to go their way, and they get the W, and it's frustrating. The Arizona game was a great example of two teams that played really, really well. Caleb Williams, as you said, played really well, and Duke was just better. And it was just kind of like one of those things where you just kind of watched it and you're like, Arizona played really well. And their biggest flaw this season was their defense wasn't great. They gave up 100 points. I mean, and Duke scored 100 points, and Cooper Flag looked like the best player in college basketball. So it's been a lot of stuff where it's like, yeah, these teams are, and it's going to go into my next statement, which I'll toss it over to you. I feel like a lot of these teams this year have been very well prepared, especially these higher seeds. These coaches have been there before, and these players, in a lot of cases, have been there before, and they're performing at a really good level. And I give a lot of credit to the coaches. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I think the committee, for the most part, got it pretty dead on. The four number one seeds, while all four of them are different types of teams, they're very much the four best teams in the country, and they all four deservedly should be in the Final Four, which they are. Um, Duke is interesting to me. Obviously, they have the best player in the country, but they rely on three freshmen pretty heavily. They have a really deep team too. I mean, not to say it's only Cooper Flag, Con Knipple, and Malawach, but uh, I'm interested to see how they're going to go up against Houston, just because they don't really have the pedigree compared to a Houston team that's a lot older and grittier, and then they've kind of, I don't want to say been there before, but they've been in multiple tournaments, obviously, with a lot of seniors in LJ Cryer and that group. But yeah, overall, I think in this NIL era, it almost seems like chalk might be more of the norm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to be interesting because we've heard a lot of media talk about NIL is destroying this tournament and all these powerhouses are just going to be good. I think we need a bigger sample size on it. You go back, just a couple to 2019, 6 years ago, NIL is not kicking around at that point. There was really no big upsets in that tournament either. It was a lot of pretty chalky stuff. Um, you know, you're gonna have years that are weird. We're only 2 years removed from, you know, San Diego State being a five, FAU being a nine, NC State last year being an 11. I think it needs to be a little bit more of a trend before we start to blame NIL. This just might have been a year where, and these years happen. It's the cool thing about the tournament. Anything can happen. And this year it was just the favorites came in prepared and, they were playing well. And, as you said, all one seeds. The cool thing about this Final Four, which we'll expand more on here in a little bit, all these teams didn't have like an easy path. They all played really good teams at full strength, and they really got pushed to the limit. It's not like these teams just bruised by, playing lower seeds and getting lucky. They pretty much played the best of the best from every single region.
Well, and it shows the depth of some of these teams. I'll take Auburn, for example. You lose Janai Broom for, a couple minutes of game time. I mean, the injury looked pretty bad. He twisted his ankle, and then he came down on his wrist. And then you could kind of tell when he came back into the game, obviously it must not have been a terrible ankle sprain because he was moving around fine, but he basically was one arm rebounding with his left arm. Luckily, he is a lefty, so when he shoots, his right hand is just a guide hand, but he kind of was like favoring that right arm. But that shows the depth of Auburn that, their best player and, probably the only guy that maybe could take away the Naismith Award from Cooper Flagg. I don't think he will, but a dude that had a ridiculously great season in his own right. Even without him, Auburn kept that 10-point advantage pretty much still throughout. So, yeah, the one seeds are, yeah, I'll say it again, they are four of the teams that deserve to be there.
Yeah. I got a random question for you. We actually didn't discuss this, but this just came to my mind now that we're in the Final Four. We've seen a lot of guys ball out. We've seen a lot of guys have really good performances through these first four rounds. Has there been a guy to you that has risen his draft stock up significantly?
While I think of someone that's not associated with Arizona, I'll throw Caleb Love out there.
Okay.
A guy who probably going into this season would have made a summer league roster and maybe probably bounced around Europe. He might have played himself into the second round. He had a great tournament. The game against Duke, he was absolutely unbelievable. I mean, he literally was the life support for Arizona. I mean, he had 30 plus points. I mean, the guy is an absolute torch when he's on, and the key is when he's on because he's pretty streaky. But I think there's something to be said about having guys like that. Say he does make an NBA roster and he's your 12th, 13th, 14th. I'm trying to think how many roster spots are in the NBA, like 15 maybe or 14. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like end of the bench guy. I mean, not a bad guy to have. He's kind of a weird player because he's, from a physical standpoint, he's a 6'3" shooting guard, so he's a little undersized. He's a ball handler, but I wouldn't really call him a point guard per se. But he's someone I think he definitely played his way into a potential mid to end of the second round slot. As for other guys, I'm trying to think, it's an interesting draft because you look at mock drafts and like two of the top five guys getting projected are on Rutgers, and they didn't even make the tournament.
Yeah.
Which that's a very odd situation for a Rutgers team to go. I believe they were 15-18 or 15-17, or they had a sub 500 record with two of the best freshmen in the country and couldn't make the tournament. I mean, that's not good, especially in the Big Ten, which was not bad per se, but not dominant. I'll have to think. I'll kick it to you. I mean, is there someone that you've got? While you talk about yours, let me think if I can think of anyone.
Yeah, I got
draft stock.
I got two. One, and I think this guy was going to get drafted anyways. Probably a first rounder. Sears out of Alabama. Setting the record. Or Alabama set the record for the single game 3 points in one game. Also attempted in one game. But I think what he hit 10 against BYU, something like that. So I think Sears has played himself into a situation. 'Cause it's all about 3 point shooting. We know that. Good point guard. And the other one who kind of same deal, since the NBA is all about threes these days. Proctor had a great first 2 rounds for Duke. He had a lot of threes as well, and I think he added some on when he played Arizona as well. I know he was a little bit cold against Alabama, but Proctor's had a good tournament. Two guys that are not freshmen there. Proctor, I know, is a junior, senior. Sears, I think, also might be a junior. I don't know off the top of my head, but I know Proctor's a junior. Two 3 point shooters that we know at the next level. 3 point shooting is just it's expected and needed, and those guys really showed that they can shoot the ball.
So someone I just thought of, Walter Clayton Jr. on Florida.
Mm-hmm.
He's someone I've seen even going end of first round. I saw a mock draft with him going end of the first round to the Suns. He's also a guy probably pre-tournament on the fringe of getting drafted in the second round. He might have even pushed himself into the first round, which is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
The only other guy I can really think of, maybe Danny Wolf on Michigan. I think there's something to be said about a 7-footer who can dribble the ball, shoot, play make. I mean, the NBA is all about 3 point shooting and positionless basketball. So having a dude who's 7 feet tall who can kind of do it all, something the NBA is definitely going to look at. And Danny Wolf has, came over from Yale, came to Michigan, had a really good year, and he's definitely one of those guys who he's not like super athletic, but he gets it done. And sometimes that's all you need. I mean, there's a lot of freak athletes in the NBA, but I look at like the Jokic's and the Lucas and the James Hardens. Like, okay, yes, to the everyday man, they are really really athletic, but compared to the rest of the league, I mean, Jokic, Harden, Luka, they don't get by off jumping over you, running past you. They're smarter, and they just, like I said, they get it done. So I think Danny Wolf might also be someone who could benefit from this tournament in improving his draft stock.
Yeah, it's always really cool to see these guys play young. Like, there's always guys throughout my childhood and even like the last 10 years. It's really cool to see them play in this tournament and then develop into the NBA. Guys like Carmelo Anthony. Literally got his stardom started at Syracuse. Um, Steph Curry. Davidson run. Another one that kind of comes to mind always for me. I know he didn't have as deep a run, but Brandon Ingram, when he played at Duke, just came on the scene and just lit it up in that tournament. It's really cool to see guys like start their story in the tournament because let's be real, a lot of people don't pay attention to college basketball. Their story starts here in a way, and it's like their stardom starts to get written. And it's always fascinating to see who will be, or if there will be, that next great NBA star that we begin to learn their name during these title runs that we just never knew of before. Um, that said, with
Well,
all
it's
the
fun
good,
too to see some of these guys. It's fun to see some of these guys. Uh, it shows how good the NBA is at developing guys because you can pick some of these guys who, yeah, they're good in college, and then they get even better in the NBA.
yeah.
Or some of these guys peak in college,
Mhm.
and that's what they are, and they get to the NBA and they don't get any better. But I think there is a testament to uh, the NBA. Obviously, the players, once they get there, that is your job, so you don't have class anymore. You're not hanging out with friends and drinking or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
It's literally like, this is what you're doing. So most of those guys, yeah, they do get a lot better from what they were in college.
So with all the good, we've gotten some weird storylines as well through this tournament. And I'll just mention two, and they have to do with coaches. First, the McNeese situation. Which, by the way, did you see the guy with the boom box and he's on his own NIL deal? An NIL deal. That guy was
Yeah,
wild.
that's
Uh,
Amir Khan.
yeah, that was wild. But McNeese's situation, Will Wade basically saying even before the tournament, peace, I'm out. I'm going to NC State. He says I'm going to coach the rest of the way. They actually pull off the upset against Clemson, so it didn't really disrupt their play. But then, he leaves, and then you also have the other weird situation on the other side of the bracket where Maryland's coach, after getting into the Sweet 16, basically is calling out the administration, saying how disappointed and how bad their facilities are and everything like that. Now he basically doesn't like the job and kind of weird. And then they get bounced. And I think it was like a day after they got bounced, he took the Villanova job. What did you think of both of these approaches? I found both of them fairly weird. And yeah, what was your reaction to them?
The McNeese one was super weird just because literally the tournament hadn't even started and he already accepted a position. That rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like that at all. It's like, if you got something going on, keep it to yourself and maybe the athletic director of NC State, and I don't know, have like a little agreement between the two of you of like, hey, I'm still coaching this team. This is my team. I'm in the tournament. Once we're out, then
Yeah.
let's ink it and we'll move on from there. I didn't really like that too much, but whatever. As for I'm blanking on the guy's name. Willard. As for Willard at Maryland, also a very strange situation. I understand why he wants the Villanova job because in the Big East, most of those schools don't have football programs. So a lot of the money is directed towards basketball. And I know the Villanova boosters, especially with what they had going with Jay Wright, have not been thrilled at all with what, Jay Wright leaves, Villanova basketball has not been what they were, and they wanted to get back to prominence. I think Willard's a really good coach. I don't disagree with him making that jump, but again, it was a very strange way to go about it. And I know a lot of Maryland fans, including Scott Van Pelt. I was listening to the Scott Van Pelt show or podcast today, and he wasn't very happy with him being a huge Terps fan. But yeah, very odd situations.
Yeah.
Which then, if you want to continue on with, take it a step below coaching, the amount of players who literally there was guys minutes after they lost, just boom, into the portal.
But this goes back to the whole NCAA thing. We saw this in football as well. So there's a massive cleanup that needs to be made with the NCAA. Like whoever decided to put the schedule out has got to be the dumbest person on planet Earth. Who in their right mind thinks, oh, let's open up the portal before the Sweet 16? It was what? It was the Monday after the second round. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
I mean, all the coaches are pissed off about that. Like, yeah, you're getting guys that are literally losing and they're out. You've got guys in the Final Four that have already entered the portal and are going to be sitting on the bench in San Antonio. It's the stupidest thing.
Yeah, I don't.
It's
I
not
don't
like
get
there's.
that.
And if it was,
The portal should not open until after.
yeah, open it. Who cares? Like, open it 2 days after the national championship and let the floodgates happen there. So be it. Or I know we're just talking about the big tournament, but who gives? Who cares about what I'm about to say? There's some tournament in Vegas that's being played this week. I don't even know what the hell it's called. And it was Utah, who's already been bounced from the tournament. Their coach has already been fired. Half of his team is in the portal, but they've all agreed that they're going to just play this thing out. So they're all still wearing the Utah jerseys, but the coach is actually not even employed anymore. And he's like, yeah, I'm doing this
Yeah,
so I can show off I got stuff in my bag. And he's like, yeah, we got all these guys that are literally not even in class, in school anymore. Like they're actively gone, but because it's still technically part of the schedule, they could still technically play. It's the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah, that's so weird. I don't know what you do to fix this. I mean, like you said, I think an easy fix would be maybe just put the portal after the championship game. If you want to
Yeah,
open it Tuesday or Wednesday after the championship Monday game,
yeah,
sure, whatever. But at least, because then that gives everyone a fair opportunity at everyone. You know, a lot of these coaches, I know Tom Izzo came out and said something about basically, first round, second round, Sweet 16, like games, like winning that doesn't matter. Like the biggest thing to me is like Final Fours and championships, which I agree with. If you're not the team cutting down the net at the end,
yeah,
you didn't have a failure of a season by any means. You can still have a good season, but you go into the tournament like not excited you made it to the Sweet 16 and lost. Maybe for some of these smaller schools, sure, like
sure.
say a UC San Diego or McNeese.
Yeah,
You want to get excited about that? Sure, great. But like for the bigger name schools, if you're not cutting down the net, you're going to be disappointed at first. Obviously, once you reflect on the season, you can look back and be like, you know what, we did have a really good season. We were 30-3, and we won the ACC or Big 12 or whatever. We made it to a Final Four, but we got bounced, and we still had a good year. Great. I think if you open the transfer portal after Championship Monday, that would be one way to go about it. I also think that now hear me out for a second while I put my thoughts into words. I feel like there should be some if we're going to pay these players. I'm 51% to 49% on this. 51% being more on the side of like these players should stick at a school and
mm,
not just be able to jump around willy-nilly whenever they want.
yeah,
But I do understand that some of these kids want to grab a bag, want to get some money. You never know what kind of family situation they're from or what their upbringing is, and like, $1 million to them could be life changing.
yeah,
And if they invest it, great. Whatnot, whatever.
yeah,
But I think there needs to be some sort of contract. Like,
yeah,
if you want to be a one and done player and go professional, so like whatever, do what you need to do. But if you are going to come in. So, all right. So, what I'm saying is there should be a 2-year minimum, I think, for some of these players coming out of high school.
yeah,
You're committing to the school, you're signing a contract, because now you're basically professional if you're making money. All these kids, they're all on commercials and they have this, the NIL money
yep.
right on their fingertips. There just needs to be some sort of way to just like control this because you have players like Kirk Kriisa going into the transfer portal from Kentucky. He's going to be going to his fourth school
Yeah.
in 4 years, and it's like I don't know. I don't like it.
I mean, you could talk
Put a
about
contract.
yeah, you could talk about multiple sports. I mean, this is going into basketball. I just read before getting on this. Drew Pine's going to his fourth school. I don't even remember the last time he started a game. He's the quarterback. Remember, he was at Notre
Yeah, he
Dame,
was the Notre Dame quarterback, right?
Then ASU, then he was at Missouri, and now apparently he's going to be technically a sixth year, but transferring to his fourth school. I mean, I mean, the things that come to mind for my solutions on this are because I've thought about the same things. One of which is once you become an NCAA athlete, you get one transfer. That's it. You can transfer one time. So that would be an easy flip of okay, you got one shot at this to make a switch. Obviously, you could stay out the whole time, or you can use it one time. You can't do these. I'm going to play at 4 schools, 5 schools, whatever it is, bounce around. And then the other thing is exactly what you were saying. Have a contract situation where, like, let's say there's a kid at a great example of this is FAU. FAU's starting lineup that went to the Final Four, including their coach. All 5 of those guys were in the tournament in the Sweet 16 playing somewhere else, including Dusty May, who was coaching at Michigan. There should be some sort of, because coaches have this, why don't players have this, have some sort of buyout agreement that, yeah, if you're going to go over, there's going to be some sort of a buyout agreement that either the big school has to pay or the student athlete has to pay to get to that big school, to pay back to congratulations, FAU. Because the funny thing is we look at FAU, great year 2 years ago, Final Four. This year they were not even 500, and let's be real, they're not even going to come close to being a good basketball program for at least a few years at this point. So,
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
so
I like
something
the
that
one transfer thing. I mean, it's getting out of hand with these guys. It's like, and I know, not to date ourselves, by no means are we like old, but
yeah,
like, as middle millennials compared to these Gen Z kids in college, I mean, there's something to be said about like learning how to lose,
mhm,
not getting your way, fighting for something, and then showing why you fought for that. Whereas some of
yeah,
these kids, it's like, oh, I'm a top 30, top 40 high school recruit. I go to a Syracuse in Arizona, Kansas,
yeah,
wherever. I'm a freshman, and these seniors and juniors are starting ahead of me. I'm angry. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm going to go somewhere else. And it's
yeah,
like there's something to be said about. I look at let's use Kansas as an example.
mhm,
Ochai Agbaji, not a big time recruit. Obviously, he was good enough to go to Kansas. Sat around, and he didn't really have a breakout until his senior year. Won the national championship, and he's in the NBA. And he didn't, obviously things have changed in the NCAA since he was there. You couldn't just jump around willy nilly like you can now. But like, I give it to some of these guys. It's like, okay, you come in as a freshman. Even if you're highly regarded, sometimes there is a guy in front of you. Okay, work your ass off in practice. Know that you're going to be the starter next year when that guy leaves, and then prove it rather than like just leave. I don't know. I hate how it's just become a whole free agency thing, but
yeah,
we'll see. I mean, maybe it'll be. I'm sure it'll be changing. I'm sure things will happen. I mean, just in the last 5 to 10 years with all sports, you look at baseball and the changes they've made. That people were up in arms over the pitch clock, and now I was one of those people. I was like, baseball. The whole point of baseball is that there's no clock.
yeah.
But now I'm kind of like, you know what? The pitch clock's actually kind of cool and it's nice. So hopefully the NCAA can rein in on this transfer mania and get it under control.
Yeah, and I will say before we move on here, I think there has been some good that has come out of the NIL. One of the biggest things is it's kept kids in college. It's kept, and I said it at the beginning. This was a very clean so far. This has been a very clean, well played tournament. Um, Not a lot of turnovers. A lot of people making shots. Good defense. There's been years where 10 years ago, where we'd watch the tournament the first two rounds and be like, how the hell did that team even get into the tournament? They looked horrible. There wasn't a lot of teams that had bad showings in this thing. Even the smaller schools. Like, it was like, yeah, I can see how you won your conference. You had moments. You just ran into Duke. It made sense. Um, We'll finish off with this before we sign off. Final Four is this weekend. As I said, we got the 4-1s. First time this has happened since 2008, which was also in San Antonio. The only time it's ever happened on the men's side. Auburn going to be taking on Florida. I think it's appropriate that the SEC teams are going to battle it out 1-2. And Duke Houston, arguably all season, the best two teams that weren't in the SEC. So that feels appropriate to be facing off. What do you got? How do you feel about these games? I think we're going to see a fantastic Final Four.
Yeah, I like Florida in that Florida Auburn game, and the only reason I'm picking that, not the only reason, but I'm curious to see what Janai Broom's health is like, what his arm is like. I mean, if he's still dangling his right arm, uh, never never helps when your best player is a little banged up. But Florida, hats off to Florida. They've also shown that they can come back. I mean, they were down by like 16 and went on some crazy, or not 16. They were down by like 12 or something. Went on like a 16-4 run to end the game. I mean, I know I had mentioned Walter Clayton earlier. He's a hell of a player. Seems to be their closer in crunch time. But they have a lot of good wings and a lot of they have a deep team and they have a couple good bigs as well. So honestly, the only reason I'm picking Florida, I guess I'll say, is because I think Janai Broom's a little banged up. If Janai Broom was healthy, I'd maybe reconsider, but that's not the case. So I like Florida for the Duke Houston game. I think Houston plays the type of basketball that can beat Duke,
Mm.
but regardless of how good Houston's defense is and the veteran leadership they have on that team, I think Cooper Flag is just too good. I mean, it's really, really, really hard to not pick against Duke right now because their freshmen don't play like freshmen. I mean, Malawach, he has Olympic experience playing for South Sudan. Khan Knipple, you know, doesn't look like a freshman out there. I mean, he's all those guys they play so smart. And then Cooper Flag, I mean, I'm not going to dive into him. If you've seen him play, you know why he's going to be the number one pick in the draft. Championship, man, I struggled with this trying to think about it. Florida Duke, that'd be such a good game. I think I just, like I said, I think I just have to go with Duke. I mean, with how well they're playing right now on both sides of the ball. I mean, if they need a stop, they get the stop. If they need to score, they score. It's not all Cooper Flag. Cooper Flag's having crazy performances, but the rest of his team is too. So, yeah, I hate to say it because I don't like Duke, but I can't not pick Duke to cut down the nets. What
Yeah,
about you?
yeah. I mean, I could see all four of these teams obviously winning. They've all had fantastic tournaments, all in their own individual ways. At the beginning of the tournament, I had Duke over Florida. I'm going to stick to that because I had that at the beginning. I will say Houston's defense has looked really, really good this whole tournament, and just seeing their path. I mean, they beat Gonzaga, which Gonzaga was really good. Purdue was really good. Tennessee, and they played close with all those, but like their defense found a way to contain all three of those offenses, which is really impressive. I think this is just me. I think Bruce Pearl is the best coach left at Auburn, um, and he's done a great job there. I'm just going to stick to what I had originally and just not change it. Duke, Florida, for a lot of the same reasons that you said. Um, the weird thing, I heard someone else say this, and there's a lot of truth to this. Duke throughout our childhood was very unlikable. They had the villains, Coach K, all that stuff. There was a lot of reasons not to root for Duke. This Duke team is very likable. It's a weird situation. It is a very likable Duke team. So it's odd.
Well, we might be seeing Duke and Florida around for a while because Todd Golden, their head coach, barring him going somewhere, which
I don't see that
you
happening.
never know in today's day and age.
Yeah.
I mean, he's under 40. John Shire's under 40. I mean, these two programs, I mean, they looked like Duke especially, because you never want to be the guy to succeed Coach K. It
Yeah.
just always seems like it's going to be a failure. But Duke, I think they picked the right guy. John Shire,
Yeah.
obviously, he's got the X's and O's. He's got a championship pedigree. He even has a little NBA experience from his own, on his own. So he looks like the right hire. And like I said, Todd Golden, he's also under 40. So he has a chance to stick around Florida for the foreseeable future as well. So we could see these two schools just
For a
be
while.
around for a long time.
Yeah. All right. Well, James, any other final comments you want to go into before we sign off here?
I don't think so. Excited for some good basketball again this weekend, and curious to see what more transfer news comes out because it seems like every day someone new's going into the portal.
Yeah.
Every day someone is signing with a new. I mean, there's already guys who have already committed to new teams, so big time guys too.
It's got to be exhausting being a NCAA basketball coach. It's got to be exhausting. So, all right. Well, hopefully good basketball this weekend. Hopefully everyone that's watching your brackets, hopefully they're still in play. But hopefully you have a chance of winning some money here at the end. I don't. James, you probably don't know this, but you actually do in a weird scenario. You have a chance of making a little money. So, but yeah, that's all I got. thank you guys watching for this episode, and we will see you